So now that we've talked about how things like light and exposure and contrast affect the mood and the emotion of your photo, now I want to turn to color. And color can have profound effects on the mood, the emotion, or the story that your photo is trying to tell. And one of the greatest things about color is that we have complete control over it in Adobe Lightroom on mobile or on your PC. So we're going to talk about a few different things in this section. We're going to talk about the anatomy of color. So what are the things that comprise color? And that's important because we can actually edit all of those things that comprise color in Adobe Lightroom. So we're going to talk about the anatomy of color. We're going to talk about color harmony. So which colors look good together and which colors don't look good together. And of course, we're going to talk about how color affects the mood and the emotion of your image. And lastly, I'm going to introduce you to a few really, really cool tools that can help you refine your color and really look at the color of other photographers that you really like, some of the photographers that inspire you, how to break down their color so you can use similar colors in your photos. Okay, so starting off, we're going to talk about the anatomy of a color. And the anatomy of a color is very important because actually in Lightroom Mobile, we can control all three aspects of color. Those three aspects are hue, saturation, and luminance. So hue is essentially the actual color, whether that's pink or purple or blue or green and all of the shades in between, that is hue. Saturation is the purity of the color. So how pure that color is. The purer the color, the more saturated that color is, the more vibrant it looks to our eyes, right? The less pure, the more closer that color gets to gray, which is the absence of color. So we're talking about saturation a lot in this course, and essentially I'm just referring to the purity of a color. So the last aspect of color is luminance, and that essentially is how bright that color is. So the more luminant a color is, the brighter that color is. If it is less luminant, then it will be darker. So think about a dark blue versus a light blue. You know, that light blue has very high luminance, the dark blue has very low luminance. So those are the three aspects of color, and they all affect emotion in a lot of different ways. But I wanted to talk about this because we can actually edit, like I said, we can edit all three of these things in Lightroom Mobile, and we're going to get into that later on in this course. So the hue of color is very important. I just talked about hue and what hue is, and an easy way to explain hue is to bring up the color wheel. So the color wheel has every color that ever exists in the spectrum of colors, right? You can find any color on the color wheel somewhere. It's hidden in there somewhere. So when looking at the color wheel, the middle of the color, the exact center of the color wheel is true white. So that is the absence of color, true white. And on the outside of the color wheel, we have colors in their purest form, the highest saturation possible. You might be thinking to yourself, Sean, why are you showing us this color wheel? Well, I'm showing you the color wheel because I think it's a fantastic way to look at color harmony. And color harmony, in short, is basically what colors look good together. There's colors that are harmonious and there's colors that are not harmonious. And this is something that I can sit and talk about, but actually it's much easier for me to show you this. So I'm going to hop on my computer and show you this really cool app called Adobe Color Cc. Just kidding, I'm not going to jump on my computer, I'm going to jump on my phone. There is no dedicated app for this, I'm not really sure why, but you can do everything you need to do in the browser here. So just go to color.adobe.com and you're going to see this color wheel here. And this color wheel is awesome because it allows us to look at multiple different types of color harmonies, which we can then use in our photos later on. So when you open it up, you're going to see this color wheel, you're going to see 5 boxes, some sliders on the bottom, and then you're going to see these weird like fingers or whatever you'd call them within the color wheel themselves. Now, if you tap this little dot here, the little target on the left, you're going to see a few different color rules, and these are essentially different types of color harmonies. So starting at the top, we have analogous, and analogous means essentially all of the colors that are selected stay at a specific distance away from each other. So you can see here, they're all staying, no matter where I move that middle color, they're all staying a specific distance around each other. And this is a really nice color harmony because it's very naturally occurring. You'll see this in nature a lot. You know, for example, if you look at a field and there's pink flowers, well, there's going to be a lot of different shades of pink and red and orange, and everything is kind of related. So this is a very kind of natural color harmony that we see quite often in nature. You can come up with some really interesting color harmonies here. Going to the next one is monochromatic, and monochromatic is essentially just different shades of the same hue. So if we get yellow here, well, a different shade of that hue is brown, and then a darker yellow, kind of greenish. So you can see if I scroll that around, what that's going to do to each color, just different shades of each color essentially. The next one is triad, and this is basically a triangle, creating a triangle around our color wheel here. And this can lead to some very vibrant color combinations, very bold, very colorful, and absolutely gorgeous color combinations with this. Even if you bring it down in saturation, you still get some really lovely color combinations here. Like, look at this one. It's very, very nice. Next, we have complementary, and this is probably the most common that we see. Complementary is essentially just different sides of the color wheel, and these colors just look awesome together. So really popular one now is blue and yellow, or blue and brown. That's a really nice color combination that we're seeing a lot on social media, and it's been part of cinema for a very long time. That's a nice color combination. You can get kind of a steampunk look with green, or cyberpunk with green and pink. So a lot of really cool, beautiful color harmonies here with the complementary colors. Next, we have compound, and compound is complementary with added analogous colors as well. So it gets a little bit complicated, but you get basically complementary colors and analogous color harmonies going on at the same time. So that's a really cool one. Shades is basically just different shades of the same color, similar to monotone, but a little bit different. And then custom is just whatever you want to do. You can drag the points wherever you want, etc. But probably the coolest thing about Adobe Color CC is this little camera here in the corner. So if you tap that camera, create from image, you go to photo library, and then if you select one of your images, let's find a good image to select here with some nice colors going on. We'll select this one. What it's going to do is it's going to open that image in the app, and it's automatically going to select different colors around the image. And that's awesome because now we know, what colors we're working with. You can use this with your photos, with other people's photos. And then if you tap that little target on the left again under save here, you can select different color moods. So we're selected colorful right now. You can select bright, and it'll select the brighter colors in the image. Muted will select kind of the desaturated colors in the image. Deep will select the darker colors, etc. But perhaps one of the most important things about this feature is what I'm about to show you now. So once you upload the photo, you click this color wheel back there, and it'll take you back to the color wheel. And then you see this color that we have in the middle here, what Adobe refers to as our base color. Well, this is also known as a key color, and that is essentially the color that's most prominent in your image. So once you come back to this color wheel and select your base color, well, then you can go and select different color harmonies, and that base color will stay the same. And it will basically give you other colors that are harmonious to that key color in your image. So then you can go in and try to add some of these colors into your image. And this is such a cool feature for, learning what colors will look good with the colors that are already in your image. It can give you an idea or some inspiration on how to edit that image. And I can tell you that this app has been central for me in exploring color, learning more about color, learning more about what colors look good together and color harmonies, and just stepping my color game up to the next level. One of the things I also recommend with this is to upload other people's photos. So go ahead and screenshot their photo, upload that photo into the app, and then do the same thing, explore the different colors that are in their image. You can do this especially with photographers that you really like and photographers that you look up to. And you can also save these color schemes, and you can have them all collected if you just sign in with your Adobe CC account. Another really cool thing about this app is the Explore feature. So if you tap the Create button on the top there, and then you click Explore, Adobe is going to show you a bunch of different color combinations that look really, really cool. And they're super inspiring to see because, they give you an idea of colors that you can have in your images. And I love just looking at these before I go into editing, just so I can get an idea of colors that look good together, color harmonies, even if it's at a subconscious level. I know that it's helping me in recognizing the colors in my image and creating something that's visually appealing, not only to me, but to other people that are going to be viewing my photo as well. Once again, it's color.adobe.com, and it is a resource that I 100% recommend checking out. You don't have to spend too much time on this, but I think it's a really great tool for just learning how to navigate color and understanding color harmonies, and just overall improving your editing process in general. Another really cool resource you can use for color inspiration and color navigation is the Pantone app on your smartphone. So the Pantone app is amazing, and it's so artistic, and it inspires me so much. So what you can do is you can go to images here in the Pantone app, let that load. This will have some of your images here. So I'm just going to scroll down and select. I was playing around with it last night. You can see some of my photos here. I'm going to select this one. This is a photo I took with my girlfriend here. We're eating some fried chicken and waffles at this cafe. And what it's going to do is just select a different color palette on the top here. And you can see that color, and you can actually click on each color, and it will show you what that color is. So it's really cool, and it kind of shows you the different color combinations in your image, and you can kind of play around with it and get some inspiration here. And you can also upload, like I said, other photographers' images, and that is a really good place to find inspiration. If you want to learn more about what colors they're using, you can do that. You can click it. You can even see their sRGB code there, so you know exactly what color they're using. But I also really like this app because you can use it for inspiration. So if you go to images, and then you hit the top here and you hit inspiration, it'll show you some really, really cool images with just amazing color. And this is one of the reasons why I love the app, is just it has these beautiful color schemes that with color combinations that are accomplishing many different forms of color harmony, complementary colors, analogous colors, triode, a lot of different really interesting things. Like this is a beautiful photo. Look at the colors. It's just spot on. And it's totally inspiring to see images like this, especially right before you go into editing. It gives you a lot of different ideas, and it can help you in the editing process. So I recommend checking out this app, Pantone. You can do some really cool exports too, where you have this Pantone thing in the middle, and it just looks artistic. So check out this app. It's really good for inspiration and finding different color harmonies and just experimenting with different color when you're editing your own photos. Okay, but all that stuff aside, color harmonies and all that, we haven't really talked about color and emotion. And that's the whole point of this video, right? Is to talk about color and emotion. So I want us to take a little bit to talk about how colors, how they actually make us feel. So one of the first people to actually start experimenting with color and start exploring color and how it affects psychology is this guy named Johann Wolfgang von Goethe. I really hope I'm saying that correctly. To all you German people, I apologize if I said that incorrectly. But essentially, this guy was a German poet, an artist, and a politician who in 1810, he published this work called The Theory of Colors. And the most interesting thing about his work was, not the color harmonies that he talked about and things like that, but it was the psychology behind the colors and how he depicted each color as to how it made us feel as human beings. His work was really, really interesting. I highly recommend you give that a read. But in short, he broke down each color based on how they make us feel. And that was kind of the first time where color and psychology came together. And since then, this has become a really popular topic when it comes to color theory and color and emotions. So I'm just going to go through each color real quick and give it a really quick breakdown based on the emotions or adjectives that you might experience when you see that color. So starting things off with red, it's passionate, it's aggressive, it's sexy, it's intense. It can really add a lot of intensity to your photos, and it's a really strong, really bold color. Next is orange. It's playful, it's energetic, it's exciting. Orange is a really nice color, and the complementary color of orange is blue, and that's used in a lot of cinematography. So orange is a nice color, and it's naturally occurring as well. Next we have yellow. It's happy, friendly, warming, calm. We also use yellow for warning. Caution tape is yellow, so that's something to think about. But yellow is generally a softer color, nice to look at, warm tones, etc. Green is natural, prosperous, trusting. You know, there's a reason why so many companies use green in their logos or their name. Is it's a nice color, it's trusting, it's easy to look at, and very natural as well. Blue is serene, trustworthy, inviting, warm. It's a really nice color. It's a lot of people's favorite color for a reason, mine included. It's just a very nice color to look at. Purple is luxurious, mysterious, romantic. It could be elegant. Pink, you might use words like young, innocent, calm, perhaps feminine. It's a gentle color. It's a nice color. Brown is natural, earthy, rustic. This is one of my favorite colors in photos because it's so natural. It's so naturally occurring, and you're going to have it in so many of your images. And it's just a very nice, comfortable color. Black is powerful, sophisticated, mysterious. It can be scary. Black is technically the absence of color, but it can be used as a tool in your photos to guide people's eyes and really add a lot of emotion in your photos. White might be clean, virtuous, bright, hopeful, happy. I mean, it's just a nice color. Actually, technically, it's not a color, but it is a nice tone to have in your photos. And then gray, which is technically, once again, the absence of color. It's neutral, it's soft, it's gloomy, it's moody. I use a lot of grays in my photos because I think it can add a lot of emotion in the photos, and it's just one of my favorite colors to use. You know, in short, you know, each color has very specific emotions that it elicits when we see it. And something to think about, you know, is color is on a spectrum. It's very difficult to achieve pure orange and pure blue. You're gonna have colors that are in between those. And it's very much on a spectrum, that color wheel. You know, there's billions of colors in that color wheel. So finding the right tunes, the right balance between, you know, say red and blue will give you a violet that, you know, elicits a very specific emotion. So it's really interesting to think about color and emotion. And I want you to think about it as we're going forward. When you're editing your photos, think about the colors that are in your images and how you might be able to change them to elicit different emotions, different feelings within the viewer of your photo.